Shocking podcast. No.
Wow. I wish we had that first little segment. That would have been great.
Yeah, I mean, you can over if you want.
I have to record because I love that. I love that. Welcome to the Alumni Podcast. What's up, everybody? I got my man's here, T. Smith. What's up, bro?
I'm doing good, man. January 2024, new year, new mic on the pod, trialing some new stuff out here. So that's really exciting. But yes, everything in Washington State still good. Not snowing at all right now. So just holding tight, brother. How about you?
Yeah, this is the first episode of the new year, and it's a great reminder to do whatever the hell you want to do to expand your horizons and keep going. And on that note, we are very, very pleased to bring on our guest here, the man, the beast, the legend, Ben YURA. Honestly, we don't have a clap segment, but if I could do an applause, I would.
No, I don't deserve applause.
What's up, Ben? How you doing, dude?
I'm doing great. Currently in Maryland at the moment, working for the DOD, wasting my life away. But I'm happy and healthy and in a nice and privileged position, and I like to hope in a good place in life at the moment. So I'm doing well. It's been a long time since Sam and I last saw you two, and it's brightening my evening at least to be able to see you both again. So thanks for having me on, and it's really great to see you both.
Dude, I love that. And we're gonna get into your story. It's gonna be great catching up with you in a minute. But T, let's start it off, man.
Yep. First way is just a real basic intro. So if you had to very quickly summarize your Santa Monica High School experience, 0 to 10. 0 is the worst thing ever. 10 is just off the charts. Every single day was 10 out of 10. How would you very quickly assess in terms of what you thought high school would be and how it turned out? How would you rate high school experience for yourself?
I don't know. It's obviously a loaded question, kind of hard to say because it's been so long ago, and I like to think that every 5 years we're kind of just a different person, or at least that should be the hope, that you're constantly growing and being a different person. So the person I was back then is a very distant Ben in a lot of ways that I wasn't super happy with, and I like to think it's just hard for me to connect with that mindset entirely. But if I would try to think back and summarize, it was probably about how I was expecting high school to be if I would go into it. Like most millennials probably in that time, I was depressed out of my mind and didn't really know what was going to happen afterwards or going into it. Mm-hmm. So I think tailoring expectations from the first day or year wasn't realistic, and I was kind of going with the flow until I caught up. I started wrestling. That's where I met Tyler, and along the way, I either not through Tyler. I'm pretty sure Jim and I just started having classes together and kind of became friends there. Wrestling was most of my high school experience because the rest of me was depressed and aimless and kind of absent-minded, and I think was lacked the foresight and introspectiveness to think about what the grand scheme of high school was going to be, right? So I was basically just a leaf floating down a river, just bumping into shit and being I don't know.
More slamming people into the mat and just doing double leg takedowns like no one's business. But yes, if you liken it to just floating down a river too, that's fine. But you had some intensity. I remember you had all the intensity in the world on the mat. So
yeah, I mean, that was wrestling. Again, I'm sure for many high schoolers who didn't, we're all raging with hormones, go through puberty, and don't know how to process emotions a lot of the time. More so in middle school than high school, but still very much in high school. And I was always a very shy and anxious kid growing up, I think. And through situations in my life, I think reinforced that, in which I was very reserved, and getting into wrestling and a sports team where I kind of started to slowly build family and develop any semblance of social skills, I think allowed me to express a lot of those emotions. Contact sports can be very good for that. For a lot of people to let out negative emotions in a healthy and conducive way. Sometimes not so much, but I hope that for my case, like it was healthy. So, but yeah, wrestling was fun.
Nice. All right. Well, that was the quick rapid fire. Jim, take him to the way back machine now in the next segment.
Ben, I got to take you way back, man. I got to take you all the way back to June of 2010.
Okay.
I don't remember you being a big basketball fan, so I'm going to leave out that segment, T.
That's probably why, because I don't know shit about basketball.
I remember you
playing championship, whatever.
No, we're not even going to go there, all right? We're not even going to go there, okay? Ben, you are a beast, man. And I don't mean that in like a way of like, saying like, oh, no. You were like third CIF state champion in your weight class, like beast. Like I'm talking about like Brock Lesnar type of shit.
No, I was okay. I think like I mean everybody who like didn't like fucking win CIF or state like says like, oh, I should have been better, I should have won, but like I like wished I was better, and I got farther into like state, but I was okay. I was like probably like I made it to the state. Like,
I'm gonna say this. Like as far as an outsider's perspective of watching what you did, I was inspired.
Oh,
okay,
thank you. Right. Very kind adjective to use.
Yeah. But back then, it was 2010, and I don't know, the songs on the radio for the youngins listening were like the Black Eyed Peas. Maybe Cuddy was on, Tyler. I don't really remember. Yeah, I think
he busted out in 2009, 10. That's about right.
Okay, like you just knew Cuddy, and millennial depression was like not even something that we talked about back then, right? Because we were just in high school and we were just like kind of laughing at emo kids. But I mean, it turns out like years later, we're all kind of emo.
Yeah, right? back then mental health didn't exist, and depression like was made up by the devil, right? So
didn't exist, wasn't around, right? So but we stumbled upon it later and handled it like bosses later. But here it is. We all kind of live with it. Your last name starts with a U. Dr. Hugo Pedroza is on stage.
Oh,
yeah, dude. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Why? The end of the alphabet is what I mean.
It's the same thing. They're both kind, like Y's kind of a vowel anyway.
It's not the same thing, but I got you, man.
If you squint, a Y kind of looks like a U.
Squint, like the way I write it on a piece of paper, it's the same thing.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Yeah.
You're at the end of the basically the table, and you have to watch everybody walk the stage until you can kind of come on, right? Mm-hmm. And you watch this whole graduation. All your peers go before you, and you step on stage after a long-winded graduation, and they hand you a piece of paper. It's not your degree. And then you go to grad night. I think I saw you at grad night. I remember you being there.
I remember that I went to grad night. If you remember me from high school, I had an impeccable fashion sense in which I'd wear shirts with holes in them to school all the time. Partly because like I was kind of poor, but like that's really just an excuse for me just not caring and like dressing like a slob all the time. And I'm pretty sure I wore like a ripped up tank top and like shorts because I just like was a bum. And I remember freezing my ass off that night because it was really cold at the Greek.
Yeah,
and I really, like fell asleep. And I fell asleep around like 5 a.m. while we're all sitting on the Greek, just like freezing. And that's that and the sumo wrestling match that I had with was it Hair? No, it was, I forgot who. It was somebody. Okay. The only members I have from that night. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For sure. But then grad night goes, you go home, and then all your peers, everybody that we've ever known, kind of goes their own separate way. You might hang around like that summer, but once school's done, it's done, right? And everybody has these college plans of going out of state or whatever. Me and Tyler were on the phone one day, and we finally came up and asked like what happened to all our peers. That's the premise of this podcast. Basically, from that time after graduation to 13 years later, the whole premise of this, and the stage is yours. What happened to Ben YURA? Where have you been? What have you seen? And how'd you get here talking to us 13 years later?
Okay, so senior year of high school, I you know, as we kind of discussed, wrestling was like a big part of my life there. It gave me community, it gave me direction, gave me family. And besides from like being somewhat okay at like in math classes and like enjoying math, like my dad was a really good mathematician. And like I used to like that as a kid. Like I didn't really have a goal or direction. So in my mind, like wrestling is the way to go, right? Like it's the one thing that I've been like kind of consistently good or okay at. And I don't know what the fuck I'm doing for college. So during this time, Tyler and I had a mentor named Al Banut. He was an incredible man. He left the year before that I came in on the wrestling team. Incredible person, incredible wrestler, just really kind soul. And he would come back when like Tyler and I were wrestling, and he kind of became a mentor to me. And like, you know, was my wrestling partner because we were similar weight classes, and just a really good friend. So he was going to a college called Menlo College, which is a small business school in Northern California, right below San Francisco in Atherton, which is like right next to Menlo Park. I don't know why they put Menlo College like not in Menlo Park, but they, out of all their wisdom, decided to do that. And he was going there to wrestle, and he said, "Hey, like you should look into this college because they have a wrestling team. It's a smaller school, so maybe you'll like that. I don't know." And suggested I apply. So I applied. I started talking with the coach there, and after a couple other like college prospects either didn't work out or it was going to be too expensive and I couldn't get like enough loans to pay for them, I decided to go to Menlo, which was a horrific mistake because who knew that giving like an 18-year-old with little direction, and he was kind of aimless and depressed, you know, like a choice of where they should go and like rack up a lot of debt and potentially like dedicate their life 2 to 4 years was a risky, like, you know, maybe not so great decision. So, but it's the only decision I like knew or thought to make. So I went to Menlo, and it was a very small school. I heard it was a small business school. It was very small. It was under 800 people. It like very high testosterone levels. I think the guy to girl ratio was like 7-1. So I don't know, and it was just like not. I mean, it was really uncomfortable. Everyone there, like, I don't want to like talk too much shit on Menlo College because there are very kind and like very wonderful people who teach there and like went there, of course, as there are like everywhere. But I feel like half the population were like student athletes, right? And it kind of felt like a lot of people there were just going there to like play sports just because they didn't want to like get a degree and they didn't really like know what they were doing anyway. So kind of like me, but it just felt like uncomfortable for me. And the only 2 majors they had were business and psychology, like the only 2. And that also was like weird. Like I didn't have any options. I tried business. I hated it. And then I was like, all right, maybe I'll try psychology. I hated that too. And by the end of 2 years, I hated the wrestling team because like half the team were younger people like my age, or maybe a couple of older people who still fit in with us, and they were like, you know, good people. The other half were just like awful, shitty people. Like one of the guys like would beat his wife, like the others were accused of crimes and like do like hard drugs and get in fights and like pick fights with like us, the Iron Kids on the team. And it was just a very broken family compared to like the wrestling family that like I was used to in Santa Monica, which like that's, you know, I realized was what made me love wrestling, that like we had Coach Black, who was like a second father to us. We had a really strong community. Like I besides like a couple assholes on the team who would come and like never really practice anyway, like I loved everybody there. And so after 2 years, I had an early midlife crisis, realized I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I didn't like wrestling anymore, and that was the only reason I went to school. So I like the other thing that I felt like I was like okay at, or at least passionate about, because it was like all I ever fucking did was like play video games. And so I had an early midlife crisis, and I decided I wanted to make video games. So I transferred to the Art Institute of Los Angeles, which if you know anything about that, it's you'll know it's a fucking scam. But you know, I'll get into that if you don't know.
Dude, can I just pause for 1 second
sure.
say that my law school was a part of the parent company
That's
So like,
super
you know, in
cool.
like the mass shutdowns of like the Art Institute, right?
Yeah.
That also almost happened to my law school, so I was grouped in that like whole thing.
Fuck. I'm sorry.
Dude, like
That's
I
sucks.
just, yeah, I just feel like you should know that too. It just,
Yeah.
Right.
No, yeah.
it
Thank
is
you for telling me. I'm sorry you also went through that. I like to think I got out before any of that went down, and I was very lucky. But like, I had so many friends who just like lost a lot going to that school, and it was fucked up.
yeah,
So
dude.
sorry. Yeah. So I went there, and I was there for a year, and I decided I wanted to get into like game programming, where I started like learning C++, and eventually hated that too. And I'm like, shit, like I hate everything I'm doing. Like, what's my goal? Like, what's my path? What's my dream?
Yeah.
But while I was there, you know, like there are a bunch of math prerequisites to like do programming. And for all the math prerequisites, all the linear algebra, all the calculus, like I mentioned earlier, I really like math, and I had always felt like kind of I had some natural affinity to it. And my friends in those classes didn't, so I would start tutoring them, and I started like just teaching them and like holding like study sessions, and their grades like slowly started to get better. They had like D's, and then they started getting like C's and B's, and at some point one of them made an offhand comment like, haha, you should be our next math teacher, because our current one was leaving. And I was like, yeah, I could do that. Like, I do like teaching. I like helping people, and I like math. Like, oh my God. So I decided to once again start over. And another motivation for me leaving was Jim, like you're touching on also, one of my friends was one of the unfortunate like students there who was basically targeted through predatory like practicing, in which the Art Institute, a really shitty thing that they do would be target kids in low income like communities and areas and say, hey, like we'll give you all these loans, like fund you to go to our school. And then when they come in, they don't tell them that there is a loan cap, that once they hit that cap, they will no longer get any funding, and then they'll just get kicked out like very quickly. And when that happens, like it doesn't actually count as them like failing out. So the Art Institute can then like post their grades and be like, hey, look, like we have so many people who are passing with high grades, and like we have a high like graduation rate, because like the people who get like booted out aren't technically like dropping out or failing out. They're just like getting their cunning foot and can't continue to go or something. Something along those lines. I don't remember the details, but it was really like messed up. And he was a victim of that, and like told me about it, and like had to leave. And I was like, wow, that is really shitty. I don't want to be here either. Like I'm able to, I think, like fund this, but after Menlo College, like wasting a lot of money in this like random school in Northern California, like away from my home, that like I don't really like, I didn't get anything from, and like wasting money here, like I want to reevaluate what I'm doing. So I decided to transfer to SMC, Santa Monica College, and start fresh at community college. And after 3 years, I decided to like start from scratch. I started with a major in math. So I decided I want to do math with the intention of becoming a teacher, a professor, and like getting to academia. And after like a little bumpy starts of realizing that like, wow, I don't actually know how to be a student. I don't know how to study, because like, despite me taking, this is my third time taking calculus, once at like Santa Monica High School, and like I got an A, or I got like B plus, but I almost got an A. But I was again, I didn't like study or do anything like in high school, right? But I got an A when I took it at the Art Institute. And then I was like, went to SMC, and I'm like, I know calculus. I know how to take a derivative. Like, it's easy. And on the first test, I got like a D. And I'm like, wow, like this is like way harder, because what I didn't realize is that Santa Monica College, despite people calling it like high school plus, is a pretty credible and legitimate school. And they're a feeder school. And for, all the UCs, especially UCLA and Berkeley, especially for math, when it comes to UCLA and Berkeley. So math is like heavily impacted for both, and they get a lot of students from SMC. So like the math classes at SMC, you'll find a couple of professors who are, like relatively easy. And then most of the other professors will be like, oh, you got like a little bit like off on your test, or like, I can't like read that correctly. Like you get an F, like
Right.
Obviously that's an exaggeration extent, but it was a lot more intense than I was prepared for, because I never actually like forced myself to be a student. I had no study habits, and it wasn't until I admittedly like started studying with somebody that I said, I like, after I made it through the first year of calculus, I told my friend that I would like tutor her in calculus if like she would tutor me in chemistry, because she was my chemistry TA. And admittedly, like I had a crush on her, so that motivated me to want to study with her. But she was the most studious person I ever knew. And so, I mean, don't do that. That was wrong. That was the wrong
Leave it up to T to like screw it up, you know?
That's right.
No,
That's right.
yeah, no, bad Ben. Like I should have been studying with her because she was my friend, and because like I needed to get better at studying, which eventually that's what it turned into, right? So my like shitty like sexist brain eventually got like corrected, but it took a second. So through her, I very like graciously like learned how to study and be diligent, and to like withhold all my anxieties when it came to like sitting down and like being in while sitting still for long periods of time, to the point where I was like, you know, studying for like 10 hours straight or 13 hours straight. And it paid off, and I felt like a lot more confident, and I felt like I, you know, was I was pretty fucking good at math at some point, you know. And eventually I applied to UCLA through SMC, and I didn't get in because UCLA told me I had too many credits by that point, which was probably a lie. I probably just like wasn't competitive enough. I don't know. Who cares? Because I honestly like had a lot more fun going to Santa Barbara than I think I would have had like going to UCLA. So I went to UCSB instead. You know, it has a huge reputation for being a big party school. It calmed down a lot by the time I got there, but it was still just like a wonderful place. If you've ever been to Santa Barbara, it is absolutely gorgeous. Like the beaches are incredible. Like the community there is like really wonderful. Everyone's really nice. It's just like the perfect beach town, similar to what I'd imagine like Santa Cruz would be like, because people say similar things about it. But it was by far the best time in life, and I'm like, this is it. When people say like college is supposed to be the best time in your life, this is it. I have like freedom. I have friends. I'm like living in the university apartments, like where my next door neighbors are my best friends, and I'm still studying for like 10 to 14 hours a day. But like that's my time, and it felt great. And so I ended up graduating with honors, and you know, top of most of my classes. And for the first time in my life, I felt very studious, and I felt like I was incredibly good at something. I was incredibly good at math. And I had the choice to either go back to grad school and continue like going down the route of academia, or trying to find a job. And somehow, like, despite me trying to work myself up to be like proactive and be studious, like I think the worst parts of myself like won that battle like right after graduation, and that I started like, you know, I spent 7 years like in undergrad because of like what I see as the mistakes that I made going down this path. And I was tired, so I wanted to take a little time off, and that time off just like made it feel insurmountable to like reapply to grad school for that time. And so I decided to look for a job instead. And like right after I graduated, I had applied for a mathematician position for the Department of Defense. And eventually, like 6 months after I graduated, by that time I started working at SMC as an instructional assistant. I heard back from the Department of Defense, and they're like, hey, like, you're okay. Like, maybe we'll let you work for us. Here, come take this test. If you pass this test, we'll do a background check on you, which won't take 9 months. Just kidding. It took 9 months. And then we'll bring you in for interviews, and like, you know, you can do these interviews, and then if you get past that, you do something else, and blah, blah, blah. And eventually I found my way into like being a mathematician for the government, which like originally was kind of exciting. It was like, oh, like I'm officially a mathematician, and I'm officially here. I'll go back to academia and be a teacher later because it's still my passion. And then everybody I worked with like was like every other mathematician like I worked with from the government was a scorned academic, was somebody from academia who was like, I left academia because of reasons X, Y, Z, and also like A, B, C through the rest of the alphabet. And I think that kind of intimidated me out of it for a while. And then by now, like I still do like maybe want to go back one day, but I am I don't know, I'm comfortable like making enough money to like support myself and my partner, and also like my mom and sister who both have muscular dystrophy, and my mom retired recently, so like that was actually the primary reason why I got the house that I think I mentioned before the podcast started. I don't know.
Yep.
But again, if I mentioned before, the housing culture is somewhat still alive on the East Coast. So back when housing prices were like still really low, I was very fortunate. So I've saved up enough to like be able to buy a very like dinky, shitty house, but it was like entirely flat and able like for my mom's sister to like exist in it and get around with her muscular dystrophy without having to go up steps. So yeah. Up and like basically that's kind of like my journey more or less, right? I have been in Maryland for a while. I've now transitioned from being a mathematician to being more of a data scientist. So working with like, just doing a lot of Python coding, working with like machine learning and AI and like predictive modeling and all that like fun, like, vague nonsense garbo that like people just use all the time, even when they don't know what they're talking about. Much of what I'm doing right now, probably because I barely know what I'm talking about. But anyway, I'm a data scientist working for government, currently trying to move to Syracuse, New York. Why would you ever go to Syracuse, New York? That town's like a piece of shit. You may be right, but my partner works there as a postdoc for some university, and she is like the light of my life, and I love her with all my heart. And we've been doing business for a year now, so I'm very desperate to get a job out there as soon as possible. So yeah, that's about it. That's my long-winded rant of self-discovery and coming to the East Coast and being miserable working for the government, wanting to go to New York. So
Dang.
Man, that's a lot to unpack, Ben. Sheesh.
Right? I don't know where to start. Jim, you can start. I don't know where to start. I have so many questions.
It's like years. It's a loaded question,
There's
It
like,
is.
yeah,
you did a good job. You did a great job. That was
thank you.
thorough.
There's like points where I wanted to stop you, but it was too good. Like as far as like your own introspective analysis of like where you were and what you were thinking and why things didn't work out. Because me and T have talked about it like 1,000 times. Like you might like because you haven't spoken to us or you may not be like in touch with people in your class. The common themes always come up. Like I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I was here, and like you kind of like go through your path, and then you find like a place where it's like, okay, I found out I was good at math, and there's like a kind of like a spring moment. There's one thing I do want to say though, like it doesn't matter how much time you spent in undergrad, because when you came out of it, you found what you actually wanted to do, right? So that to me is a trigger point of saying like, good job, Ben. Like you found, so there's people walking around and actually a majority of people walking around who actually don't know what the hell they want to do. And some of these people are way older than us.
Yeah.
But you found what you wanted to do because you kept looking for it. And that's important, No problem. Sam, I want to start at the beginning, T. So you're in college, you're at Menlo. It's not working out. The wrestling team is sucking. I remember you being prolific at wrestling. When did you know that like wrestling no longer was like in your plans?
When did I feel like there's a difference between when I knew it and when I realized it, if that is fair, right?
I want to hear both. Yeah, that is fair.
Yeah, because I feel like I knew it right after I like stopped wrestling in high school. Like I think my last match, I made it to the state tournament, which is like the top 32 out of like 27,000 wrestlers in the state. Like I got there, and everybody has a story of like, oh, this person that I beat, like they ended up placing in states, and I should have done better, and like I think I should have, and I don't think I was like the best by any means, but I went 0-2 at the state tournament with a lot of shame. And just thinking back to it, like I really like was pretty broken by that point, and I think I just was tired, and I didn't like wrestle like I wish I did. And I think at that point, like it just felt daunting, you know, to like do this for another 4 years. Like wrestling is intense, and like I don't know many wrestlers who like enjoy wrestling, you know. Like I think in wrestling most people like enjoy winning, they enjoy like the challenge and overcoming it, but the actual act of wrestling is painful. Like you're getting beat up every day, you're just like getting your like the back of your neck constantly like pulled and slammed down, and you're getting people like sprawling on you and you like try to take them down. It's just like it is intense, and I think, you know, it was just starting to wear on me, and I think by that point I should have like made the hard and right decision that like, oh, like clearly I can't do this for another 4 years. I should like go to other outlets. And I didn't, because I was stubborn and I didn't know what else to do. And I was a really like self-destructively stubborn person. It just like runs in my family, I think. And or maybe it's just being an 18-year-old, like I think everyone is, right? So I think I didn't realize it until probably like a year and a half into college, when like I was doing fine, but I was just so tired and I was like so sad all the time, and like the wrestling team really just like felt like a chore, like just more than anything. So yeah, after my final match there, I just like slowly started to like vanish into the bushes like the Homer Simpson meme, and eventually my coach came to me, is like, you know, like, hey, what am I hearing about like you maybe not wanting to like wrestle more? And I'm like, well, I don't want to wrestle anymore. So
yeah, that's
what have you kind of replaced that physical void, I guess, with now? If there is something that you have done or pursued, I guess, is there anything that you've moved on to doing? Is it weight training? Is it long distance running, walk, anything specifically?
yeah, it's mostly just weight training. I, you know, like after wrestling ended for me in 2013, I took like a 6-month break. I was like, I'm gonna be lazy as shit now. I want to see how that feels. After like 6 years of like working out every day. So for like 6-7 months, like I didn't do anything, and I was like, wow, this feels awful. And I'm a type 1 diabetic. I need to work out. I need to like do some sort of like metabolic activity to like help with my blood sugar regulation. So I like got gym membership, and I just like started hitting the weights. And at some point, like pre-COVID, like right before COVID, I was dating somebody who was a powerlifter and was insanely strong, like almost as strong as me, and like they were only like 130 pounds, you know. And I was like inspired by them to start powerlifting. And I never like, I'm not a power lifter, but it inspired me to like hit the weights harder and try to get into more. So I try to do like.
Am I allowed to fist bump for that? Because that feels like that's pretty cool. I mean, you got inspired. That's good.
Yeah, exactly. That was being inspired. I think that's appropriate. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, good.
Stop asking for permission, T. You can just
Well, he got mad at me earlier, so I don't know.
Well, no, I got mad at myself because I wanted to acknowledge that I was being sexist in that moment.
Okay, all right. I don't want to fist bump sexism. You're right.
Yes.
You're right. You're totally right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, she's a powerlifter.
He's actually like punching sexism in the face. That's
right.
Yeah,
exactly. I was down with the sexism. It sucks. Yeah, down with
it.
Yeah.
How did you figure out? Okay, so like I remember you being super athletic and strong. I think most people in our grade did, right? How did you figure out like you're good at math, and what was that like moment for you when you found out like, okay, I'm good at something else and I can shift my attention to it?
It felt very validating because I never really felt that way about most things. I just kind of thought I was, you know, like master of none-esque, just like not really being good at anything, but like being kind of okay at a bunch of things. And so, yeah, like physical attributes and like working out and wrestling was like my identity for a very long time. And, you know, ever since I was little, I loved math. And like you mentioned, my dad was like a really great mathematician. He used to like bribe me as a kid with Pokemon cards and with these things called Crazy Bones, if you remember those. To like,
I remember those. Yeah.
Like I love those things. I still have all mine. And he'd like bribe me. He'd be like, "Hey, if you solve these math problems from these like textbooks that I have, we'll go to the card shop and we'll get you some Pokemon cards, or we'll get you some Crazy Bones." And it just created a very like positive relationship with me between like math and problem solving and like puzzles. and yeah, they were the only classes in high school that I really liked, but I never thought like doing math, like how do you do math? Like I didn't know what that would be like. So it just felt like something that's all supplementary in my mind. And yeah, the moment was just like I mentioned, I was like tutoring my friends, and they were just like, "Wow, you're really good at this." Because while I don't think I've always liked helping people, and I've always sincerely wanted to help people, and I think right now I'm a much better version of person than I was in high school. I think in high school, a lot of people called me nice, and I wanted to be nice, but like was definitely flawed in many ways that I think, like I'm sure we all have flaws, but like my own were very apparent in retrospect. In which I hurt people, made people uncomfortable or whatever, but like not whatever, like obviously, but like moving on from that, my want to help people, I feel like, has always like been there, and teaching felt like a good outlet for me to like do that in that moment, and it just connected that it's like I like math, and I like helping people, like I can help people with math, and that's kind of shifted a bit, right? Like I'm not really going down that route anymore, but that was the primary motivation for me to like find validation and find purpose in this like new path that was independent from any like just meathead like physical like capability thing.
Dude, so I got that you graduated from SB, but like I missed the point of you moving to the East Coast.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I should have mentioned it was just through work. The DOD job, like Department of Defense is all like Maryland stuff, Maryland, DC. So
Gotcha.
it was the stimulus to like move out here. So I think it was 2018, like late 2018 that I moved out.
Sure.
Which was weird because I've lived my entire life in California up to that point. The colleges I went to were like Northern California, back to Los Angeles, back to Santa Barbara, which is still Southern California. So definitely a bit of a culture shock. Still miss it a lot in a lot of ways, like still don't in others, but it's here I am. Good old Maryland.
Yeah, that's solid. How do you like Maryland in general?
I want to say my usual response, which is that it sucks and I hate it. But I'm trying to be more
say that, dude. Like we understand shit. Like we're like we're all from like a really like awesome city, and it's hard to compare it to others.
It is, yeah, because like the only two big cities like of like metropolitan like culture and just like art would be, in my opinion, Baltimore and DC, and I'm kind of currently sandwiched somewhere in the middle of them, far enough away from both that it's kind of like a chore to like go out just for shopping or just to like explore, and even among them, like everyone's going to say this about their hometown city, right? Like, oh, there's no other city like it, but like there really is like no other city that I've been to like LA, in the sense that it is the home of Hollywood, right? It's the home of like artistic appreciation and culture, and there's so much diversity, and there's such good food, so many like amazing like restaurants and like museums and just like pieces of art and like filming sites and just like right next to the beach. So like I think the thing that I miss whenever I go to another city is that sense of like artistic appreciation. Like there's no like other cities don't have the same like incredibly diverse and very various like styles that LA does, right? Like you're never gonna see so many different people dressed in so many different ways as you would in LA. You're never gonna see like billboards with different shows or like arts or random like small businesses like just paving like the roads. You're never gonna see like a small business on every single corner, like you would on like Robertson Boulevard or something, right? So maybe less on the last one, but the point is like it's just like I don't get that in Baltimore, I don't get that in DC, I don't get that in Charlotte or Chicago or like anywhere else I go. Like it's like LA's always felt unique to me. Obviously I'm super biased, it's where I live most of my life, but it definitely like feels weird not being around it still, even after like five years now I've been out here, I think.
There's definitely a lot of people in LA with the Ben Yura fashion chic with the holes in their shirts. Maybe they're homeless, I don't know, but maybe they're just taking after Ben Yura's style, I don't know, but there is a lot of that in LA.
Yeah,
for sure.
I was truly just a trendsetter back when I was 17, 18 with my no deodorant and like holes in shirts and like short shorts everywhere all the time. Yeah.
Well, Maryland has literally one of the worst rated flags, like state flags of anyone, because if you Google it, it's horrible. It's just, I don't know. It's like, it comes up on every list as just the worst rated state. Like, it's so noisy and cluttered, and I don't know. It's pretty.
God, you're validating me so much right now. I fucking hate that flag. And like, don't ever let any like person born in Maryland hear you say that, because they will defend it to their fucking grave. Like, really? I will say, like, Marylanders like have so much state pride, and in my opinion, over sometimes dumbass shit, but like I still love them and respect them for it, because like, you know, they love crabs, because obviously, like, you know, like crabbing is like a huge part of Maryland culture, but like 99% of the crabs are just like the blue crabs, or the whatever the gross crabs are, I forget they're called, but it's bad. Like, most of the crabs are bad. Like, all right, like they're gross and they're like just not good. But Marylanders love it, right? This like sort of thing. It's on the fucking flag. It's a crab. There's a local beer company like in Baltimore that like everyone agrees like the beer is awful. Even people who have like tattoos of it on their body are like, the beer sucks, but they have tattoos of it on their body because like they're so proud of it. So as much as I'm not like, you know, a huge like I'm not hugely passionate about Maryland, like I love and respect people like so much for their passion about it. Like I have to respect it. So
that's
sorry.
Dude, that's very interesting. You should pick up like you should go to a Ravens game or something.
Yeah, I mean, again, another thing people like are incredibly passionate about. I feel like, since, you know, I'm sure Tyler can maybe relate to this, and that he was in wrestling and also like hockey, that like, you know, hockey's like maybe a little bit more mainstream and popular, but still is like more niche compared to like the big three of like basketball, baseball, football. But being from a niche sport, like I just like, no one gave a shit about my sport, so I grew up like not really being interested in other sports. So I'm just like, I have zero passion when it comes to football, sadly. So not a lot to talk about at you know, at the water cooler at work and whatnot, right?
I respect that. Where and when did you meet your partner? Because you mentioned earlier that like, you know, that you met, and it sounds pretty promising for you. So I just, you know.
Yeah, thank you.
He was in New York when you were in Baltimore?
No, she's actually from LA. She's from Orange County.
Nice.
And she moved out here a little, like I think a year before I did, to start a PhD position at the University of Maryland. So she was doing a PhD in movement ecology, like tracking and like making predictive models for movement patterns of sea turtles, and how that overlaps with like dredging and like fishing, and how it like endangers them. So like really cool stuff. She's absolutely brilliant, and we met on an online dating app in like 2.5 years ago, a little more, during the like a year after COVID. I think almost a direct year after COVID. It was March 5th. Yeah, March 5th was our first. No, March 6th, because I remember. Wait, March 7th. I still remember.
You don't have to say the name of the app, but does it rhyme with Schminder?
It does not. Yeah,
okay.
It was. It was Bumble. I can say the name. It's fine.
Does it rhyme with Tumble?
It does. God, Jim, you're on it.
We're good, Jim. We're crushing.
Yeah. Second time's the charm, you know. Just
there you go. Yeah. Yeah, we met on Bumble. And yeah, I've been trying online dating for a long time, on and off, and never really found much success. And was at the exact point I think I needed to be, and I think most people need to be when going online dating. Of just like, I don't fucking care. Like I'm for the first time in my entire life, I somewhat respect myself and I'm happy with myself. I'm just gonna see what happens. And I think she was the same. We both gotten out of some like very like emotionally like traumatic relationships recently, but not too recently, that we weren't like ready to move on and like somewhat like trauma recovered. And yeah, it was just like instant bonding. And it's like a boring story. Like, oh, we met on Bumble, but like, I don't know, it just like, it worked out. And I've had some positive like relationship role models in my life of people who just like never fight, and they've just like always happy, and they just like very compatible, and that's what I've always wanted. And I really feel like I finally found it in her. And yeah, we were just like inseparable ever since, and we both went in being like, we're both kind of romantics. We should take it slow because we don't want to just like start like overly projecting and investing in each other, because that's not healthy. And I think we did a good job for the most part, but still kind of did that because we were just like, I don't know, it felt very natural, and it's just very easy. And even though we're doing distance, we've done it for a year now, coming up on the anniversary. And even though that's like the hardest thing in the world, like it has, I like to think, only made us stronger. Like we've never fought about it. We just like, it's just really easy to be with her and to talk with her on the phone. And I go to see her every week or 2 weeks, and it is hard, but we're making it work, and I just love her with all my heart. So
I love that, man. That's
Did
really
you track the movement of turtles on your first date? What was the first date? It sounds like something Ben would do.
Sorry, what was sorry, Jim, what were you saying?
Yeah.
No, man, I was just saying, like, I'm just saying that's like really wonderful, man.
Thank you.
I love hearing that. That's like really amazing to hear.
Thank you. Yeah. To answer Tyler's question, the first day was pretty chill. I was really happy that like I don't know if you had the experience. I'm sure most people have that. Like, it feels like on online dating, there's like everybody's different, and of course, I think a lot of like women need to make sure that like the person they're going out with isn't going to murder them. So obviously, there's like a amount of time that each person feels comfortable waiting until finally being able to meet somebody in person. And so Nikki, my partner, was like very quickly like, let's go out. And I'm like, are you sure? Like, I'm not gonna, I don't want to like impose on you. I don't want to like pressure you. She's like, no, like I guess she's bi, and then like, she was experiencing that a lot too from like other women. That's like, no one ever wanted to like go out with her. And she's like, fuck it. Like, I trust you. I'm talking to you for like, long enough that like I trust you, let's go out. And we just like went to a cafe, which the cafe was kind of crowded, and it was still kind of like somewhat COVID times. So we ended up going across the street to BJ's. So we went to BJ's, we had artichoke dip, and then she like is incredibly passionate about board games. So she's the kind of person who's like so passionate, she's just like always has board games in her car, like ready to go, So she told me that. I'm like, oh, we should go to like somewhere nearby and play board games. And we went to a local like cafe / like bakery and got a couple of pastries and just like spent the rest of the night like playing board games. And it was just really nice, and it was very like just low stakes and friendly, and just like a very great way to like, I don't know, like figure out somebody's like sense of humor and kind of just like energy, just sitting down, like eating some like pastries and playing Dice Forge or whatever. Yeah. So
we have a segment on this podcast where we do like our strongest memory or first memory of the person we're interviewing. And I don't want to kind of ruin that for the future, but the strongest memory I have of you, Ben Yura, is when you dressed up as the God of War for Halloween. So I really hope that was on your Bumble profile somewhere. Maybe not. You probably thought you would murder her if that was on your profile.
Yeah,
I really hope in some small way that was on your profile.
I don't think it was on there. Probably like I think she would have enjoyed it. So I think for worse, it was not on there. So yeah, but I of course quickly was like, I think she had a picture of like her cosplaying as Katara from Avatar, and I was like, I've also like dressed up once or twice. Like I was Kratos, and she's like, oh, let me see. And yeah, so it was really that.
That's perfect. That's a match made in heaven then. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, she's my person. So
dude, that's awesome, dude. I got 2 questions before we kick off into our set segments.
Okay.
What does the next 10 years look like for you? If I can give you your way, you know what I mean? You can have your ideal 10 years. Like, what would that look like for
I mean, like, ideal is definitely not realistic, but I've been saying for a while now, now that I am like somewhat familiar with like machine learning and natural language processing, that I've always wanted to make an app. I know, like a white guy in their early 30s wanting to make an app, like whoopee. But
Dude, fist pump.
yeah, like very original to me.
I'll throw one up there too, dude.
Thank
Jim's
you.
in the process of doing his shit right now.
I'm in the process right now. Yeah.
Oh, nice. I mean, are you willing to
a dating app of all things? Kind of.
It's not necessarily a dating app. It's more of like an anti-dating app. I'll after we're done with this, I'll hook you up with all the details. It's
okay. Well, I mean, like that might be similar to what I'm doing. So because
dude, I want to hear it now, dude.
Damn, I'm gonna throw down right now. Jim, if he has that idea, he's gonna kick your ass. So
dude, if he has that idea, he just joins my team. That's it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, Jim, like sign me up. So I was hoping to, like, because I've traveled a bit and like I know what it's like to move across the country and like not know anybody, and I all my life have been reserved, know what it's like to be lonely and how hard it is to meet people. So I was like hoping to use natural language processing and some data science in a way to be able to like do some like document comparison of people's profiles. So the idea is you make a profile, you write as much about yourself as possible, about your passions, your hobbies and interests, and it finds you like the top 10 like people in an X mile radius or whatever that are like similar enough to you in a way that would be like compatible for friendship. So it would be like basically like because I feel like a lot of social media isn't like super social, it's like somewhat parasocial, right? And you're just kind of like you can tap on a button and be someone's friend, and then like what's that do? Like you already knew that person anyway. So my hope was like to make an app to allow people to make friends like in an easier way. And I've been saying I want to do that for like 4 years now, and
don't wait, dude. Just go for it,
dude. That app is gonna crush because making friends as an adult after
it's
25
fucking impossible.
It's almost impossible, and I've moved cities a lot, and so
yeah.
Other than Jim, I ain't got no friends. So no, that's a good ass app. Like that solves a major problem.
Dude, I like that a lot because people move to different places and they don't know anyone, and they don't know that there's somebody like down the street that is basically the same predicament.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your encouragement. I might get back into it because I was starting to like lose all motivation. But yeah, because like there's things like Meetup, you know, and there's like websites for that, but like that still takes a lot of like guesswork and effort on your part to like think of, oh, like I'll try going to like a volleyball meetup, and like 50% of the people there are going to be like overly competitive assholes when it's like, I don't want to play volleyball. I'm just here to like try to like do something fun to make friends. Right. So I would like it for there to be something that makes it easier for people to like make friends better. And like, yeah. So
I thought of a feature that I'll tell you off this, because I didn't think of your idea, but I thought of it for dating, like basically the same premise for dating.
Nice. Yeah.
But there's a segment that I think would really, when I drew it out, because I draw it on my ideas basically, that I think would really add to your idea. I think it would like even like kind of differentiate it just a bit. Because I was thinking of that, I was like, when I was coming up with that idea, I'm like, how the hell do I like stand out from the crowd and make people actually want to join this? You know,
right?
It's like if you just type in like dating app on like iTunes or whatever, it comes up like there's a million of them, dude.
Yeah,
and like all of them suck except for a few, right? But like those few are like really like they're dominating, and most people are spending their attention on those. So like, how do you take like the people that are the alternative and flip them into your customers? And I think I have it for you. I think I'm gonna just gift it to you afterwards, and I think it's gonna work.
Thank you. I mean, I want to hear about your app, and like I'll offer any input or like data science like recommendations. I'm sure you have plenty of.
I love this.
Thank you.
So while we're talking about dating apps and stuff, so I gotta throw my idea out here too. So I think I think what apps need some AI that will tell you based on the two people's profiles, like what your activities, interests are. It should, once you match, it should suggest the best first date location, and it could suggest like a bar or something, and then that bar can get a kickback from the app suggesting that they go get a drink there or whatever, if they both are into that kind of thing, microbreweries or whatever, or if they're athletic and they want to go on a hike on the first date. But I think that's a big hurdle too, is dating, is like just like knowing what to do, I guess. I like the way
Yeah.
you approach it with the very low stress, like artichoke dip, whatever the fuck, like that's cool too. But I think I kind of want an AI to tell me what I should do with this person to like break the ice. So add
that's
that
cool.
into your app idea, and then we'll be rolling for sure.
I mean, an idea. I guess I'll just like say it because like if I never make it, then like I hope somebody else at least does, and put some work.
Dude, no, you're gonna make it, and it's gonna be fucking dope. And
That's right.
And me and T are gonna be like honorary advisors. When you're
yes, I will gladly like give you as many accommodations as I can, and like give you a free spot on like whatever board of directors or team, or if you want to be programmers, I don't know. Like you guys are my friends, and I care about you. But like I was thinking, like if like a lot of things that like businesses or apps will do, right, is like contact like let's say a concert, because like obviously music venues are like popular, people like music. I'm sure like that will be one of the big things that like might be present on people's profiles that could draw them together. So like you could theoretically contact like artists or concerts or venues and be like, hey, can I buy these tickets in bulk such that I can like sell them on my app in pairs, that I say, hey, if you like match with this person and have this similar interests, you can have this like voucher to like get a discount ticket for this event. So yeah, like that's the thing I was thinking about. But like, again, like I'm not like wealthy by any means. Like I grew up pretty fucking poor, and like I've like through luck and like good fortune, I've like scrambled my way to having like some stuff around me. You see all my nice Batman fingers in the background, but I don't have the money to like finance like an entire company or do that. So I don't fucking know how that would work, but it's an idea. So it'd be cool if it happened. But
dude,
yeah.
I got some information for you after this, dude.
Yeah, Jim knows all this shit. This is gonna be awesome. Jim, this is why we do the podcast. You just don't know what's gonna happen, where people are.
Yeah,
that's
amazing.
I love this.
I had one more question before we went into the segments, but I completely forgot it, dude.
Sorry to constantly go off on tangents and sidetrack you, but
yeah,
no, it'll come back to me later.
All I got is artichoke dip and God of War, Jim. That's all I got, bro.
That is something I wanted to say. Like, as far as first dates, like I'm a firm believer that the best first date, like universally, it's just going to a coffee shop. Like, it's low stakes. You get coffee and you get a pastry or something, and you sit down, and like if you're not having fun, you can leave because you've already just like paid for the coffee. And like I think that's so important to have that like agency to be able to say, I'm not having fun, like, and just give them an excuse like, oh, I gotta run. It was nice. Like, you don't have to like I have hated
low commitment.
What's up?
It's like low commitment. Like,
yes.
Yeah. Dude,
I'll just pour the coffee on their head if I'm not having a good time. I'm just like, I'm out, splash, and I just dip out. I'm like, this is tough. Burning hot coffee on your face.
Yeah, you fucking suck.
All the ladies watching this, he's just kidding. All right?
You can tell I'm single.
Yeah,
he will not pour hot coffee on you if your date sucks.
Please don't give somebody third-degree burns as a bet. Like,
dude, as your lawyer, I don't know what the hell you're doing right now. This plays again in front of a jury. What the hell am I gonna do?
Yeah,
I'm like standing there like an idiot. Like,
my lawyer if I get sued. Jim is absolutely my lawyer for sure. Ben's my bodyguard. Okay, yeah. Hit him with the set segments here, Jim. Is there anything else that you remember?
Yeah. What's one thing you remember about Ben Yura from his high school days? First impressions or a story?
I mean, it's definitely dressing up as God of War for Halloween. That was always epic. Seeing him blast double anybody on the mats and wrestling was also great. Yeah, we were obviously in the same wrestling class. I did 2 years, freshman, sophomore, and then I basically stopped because I was cutting weight for wrestling, gaining weight for ice hockey, and it didn't make sense. And I really missed the wrestling team though. Tim, I want to get all the guys back on this podcast at some point, but
I just talked with Tim like a week ago. Yeah, I like we don't talk often and only started talking recently, but I build Gundam models. If you like, if you're like a nerd and a weeb like I am, and like watch Gundam. Like I build those models, and so does Tim. And randomly, like, he just reached out to me on Signal when I joined, because like it pops up like, oh, this person in your contacts has joined. He's like, oh, Ben, like, what's up? And I was like, what's up, Tim? Look at all these Gundams I'm building. He's like, oh my god, look at what I've been doing. And we just like talk.
That's
awesome. Yeah, I recently saw Oliver Standring up here, and he was in Washington for a minute, so got to connect with him this summer. But yeah, I mean, I just definitely remember Ben just being this ginormous smile jack dude in high school, and like you couldn't say anything to ruin this guy's day. At least it appeared from the outside. Obviously, everyone's going through their struggles. High school's weird. It's awkward. We're all in our own little like teenage stress and depression, but from the perception, I guess it was always Ben. There was this big love and just like absolute stud. So that's what I remember from high school for sure.
Thank you. I definitely like was not perfect. Like I said, I had always wanted to help people be nice, but like there were a lot of things about myself from back then that like I regret in ways that I'd like make people feel uncomfortable, or be kind of shallow, or even a lot of like the humor that we used to have as a team I thought was like now is inappropriate. So but I, you know, and I'm thankful and glad that I was able to at least like leave that impression on you, and hopefully like help brighten your life or your day or whatever. So I'm glad that you know, I'm glad that I left a positive memory. So
what about you, Jim?
Dude, Ben, I met you in English class and in Miss Loria's class, I think. It was AP English.
AP English, yeah, in 11th grade, right? Yeah.
And we pretty much hit it off immediately. We like video games. We like God of War. You dressed up as Kratos. His name was Kratos, T. Come on now.
I don't. Sorry, my bad, dog. My bad.
And we just vibed on that.
Yeah.
And then I found out that you were a beast in wrestling, and I was like, you know what, man? I want to wrestle this guy. I want to go over to the wrestling room and just try to get him. All right. But what you didn't know is I had basically a hired gun, which is Sam Wamba and T Smith, and we were just gonna like just rush you and get me a quick pin and just get the hell out. But when I went up there, this guy T and Sam Wamba weren't there. All right. So now I gotta wrestle Ben Yura all by myself. And then, you know, I think you teched me in like less than 30 seconds or something. Like you just like it was like 4 or 5 quick moves. And then you know, I think you taught me how to wrestle afterwards, like do some takedowns.
You know, that
afterwards.
That makes me feel much better about, because I kind of like figured that was going to be brought up at some point, or I was at least going to bring it up to apologize for it, because I remember it, you know, like I felt like such an asshole, because like I thought it was like friendly banter, you know, like we were just like, you know, two random teens, and we were just like talking shit to each other, and you're like, yeah, I can take you in wrestling, and I was like, I was like overly defensive because I was like awkward as shit, and like, you know, took it personally because I was like a dick, and I was like, no, you definitely couldn't. And finally, I was like, you should come up and like let's wrestle. And in retrospect, I'm like, man, I was such an asshole. Like you, like clearly we were just having fun talking shit, and like I had like way more experience, and I just remember like kind of bullying you like a while. And dude, like
I didn't even remember. I don't even know the first thing about wrestling. When I went up there, I knew I was gonna get my ass kicked by you, bro. Like I knew, but you know what?
Right. But like I appreciate that then. And like I also like I think now hearing that you're trying to get Sam Wamba to tap me from behind a little more justified. But like still, I feel I wanted, like coming into this, I wanted to bring this up and apologize that like you know, I consider you a good friend, and dude, I thought that was a dick move, and Sam too. Yeah, both of you. Like, I love Sam, but I consider you a good friend, and like in retrospect, I felt like an asshole for doing that because it was kind of a dick move on my part. So
dude, you shouldn't apologize. You know who should apologize? T. Smith and Sam Wamba for isolating me.
Get out of here, Jim. You know I'm not gonna hold that Yura down for your dumb ass. Like, of all my friends, Jim has the most earned confidence, but I love it at the same time because he actually thought that he probably could beat Ben Yura, and I was like, this is gonna be too fucking
no idea
funny.
when I was walking.
No,
Ben Yura is a beast, dude. Like, I have no idea. Like how
I'm not gonna hold Kratos down for you, Jim. Like that's not gonna happen, dude. That's not gonna happen.
Are you telling me, you, and Sam Wamba in high school could not handle Ben?
You could definitely.
Got slammed.
Yes, you could. Yes, you could. 100%, Tyler. I appreciate that, Tyler. But I like the reality in life that
Wamba was legit. He was a football guy. He was probably 220, 230. Yeah, he was pretty big. So
yeah,
he's a Kenyan Maasai warrior. So yeah, I gotta throw respect on Wamba's name. I gotta respect Wamba.
I miss Sam. I wonder what happened to him. He was always a really like nice guy. So,
but the thing is, Ben, is like you don't need to apologize, dude. It was fun. Like we had some fun. And it wasn't even bullying. Like it was just voluntary. Like I actually did want to wrestle you. Like that was like, you know, and I got to see like what it feels like up close. You know what I mean? Like you see how good you were. You were really good.
Oh, thanks. That means a lot for you to say that. So thank you.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
But let's get into the set rapid fire questions. Yeah.
Sure. All right, brother. Should we feed the ducks, Jim?
Oh yeah,
let's play the track. It's our little outro track that we play. Yeah. Or maybe it's too early. I forget if we do it before or after the lightning round.
No, this is the perfect time for feeding the ducks. Every time is the perfect time.
I like this too because, like, 13 years later, Ben's still apologizing for high school shit. So that's
I know, dude. We're good, man. We're
all right. So feeding the ducks. This awesome track is in the background. So I'm gonna hit you with 6 lightning round questions, Ben. These are all gonna kind of bring you back to Samo and the old days. First one's gonna be, what was the best off-campus lunch spot?
Shit, it was the Hawaiian barbecue. What was it called again?
Ooh, L&L?
L&L, yes, L&L.
L&L. I don't think it's there. RIP to like every restaurant there. None of them are there.
It is gone. I
respect that. I respect that. Question 2. The hardest class you took in high school?
AP Bio. Junior
with Gaida?
Yes, AP Bio with Gaida. Yeah. That was the one class that I actually studied for, I think, in my entire high school career, because I was like, I have to study for this.
That's a hard class.
A lot of
it was hard. Yeah.
A lot of memories.
He was a good teacher, though. I like him.
Which year of high school would you like to most relive? If you could wake up tomorrow and relive any of those years.
Do I have to choose a year?
You have to choose a year, yeah.
Probably, I guess, senior year, because I was like almost gone. Like I was the most developed. I think I at least had like a social group, and I like to think was a more like a better person at that point than I was when I was younger. So
nice. Almost on the way out. I like it. Best restroom to take a dump on campus?
Probably the wrestling room, because that's the one I could probably get to myself if I need to.
Oh wow. Yeah. Okay.
Inside knowledge.
Yeah, inside knowledge. That's right. It's like insider trading over here. Who was the hottest teacher at Samo?
I want to say Mr. Acker. That guy was a fucking stud.
Okay.
Somebody else brought up Mr. Acker too. I don't know who it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Either Mr. Acker or who was our physics teacher again?
Ooh, Miss Reardon.
Yeah.
Reardon?
I would say probably between like
no.
No, it's Reardon. It's Reardon.
She was fine. Yeah, she played like field hockey or something, and I was like, oh, I don't like it.
She was really pretty. They were both two gorgeous human beings, in my opinion. So, yeah.
Brain and beauty. I love it. Last question. What song from our high school era is still on your iPod?
I don't have an iPod.
Or your iPhone. Whatever. So you still rock with.
You stream from is what he means.
Probably anything Dio related, because we would sometimes play that in the wrestling room.
Okay.
Or do you mean it had to come out during our like that 4-year period?
Just in general, any high school songs that you still enjoy today that haven't gotten too old for you?
Does it count if I've Got a Feeling is like permanently scarred into my brain from the high school girls varsity basketball coach playing it every single fucking morning for like 3 months straight because that was his coming out song that he loved? Does that count? Is it?
That
It's on
counts.
my.
So that's
Yeah, it counts. It counts.
I'm
We were
still
gonna use
trying
that
to strong arm.
as the intro.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I'm still trying to strong arm Connor Vance to do a violin remix of Tonight's Gonna Be a Good Night or whatever, and put that as
Yeah.
our intro to the podcast.
Yes.
That needs
Oh
to
my
happen.
God.
Shout out to Vance. I gotta every week I'm gonna say this until he delivers. You know? Legit. Well, that was the last lightning round question. Jim, if you want to hit him with the final table to talk, do it.
All right, let's cut off beating the Ducks. Let's
Yeah.
give the floor to Ben Yura to basically say anything you want to our class or to anyone listening. Basically, the floor is yours, and you get to end it, dude.
Okay.
I'm gonna play Feeding the Ducks really low.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. It's a nice jam. Building my confidence, I think.
Thank you.
So because Jim said that I could, I'm gonna shill something really quickly, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So my friend Demi, a LA native, she lives in San Pedro, and went to UCSB with me. She's like one of the brightest and most optimistic and loving people like I've ever met in my life. Which coming from Samo, there's a lot of those people, so it says a lot, I think. She's an incredibly wonderful person. And 2 years ago, of all things, in San Pedro, of all places, was bit by a tick and contracted Lyme disease. If you don't know about Lyme disease, it fucking sucks. Like it destroys your immune system. It ruins you. It's really rough. And for a year, she was misdiagnosed. She was told it's probably nothing. She was told it's in your head. All the bullshit excuses that many women in the healthcare industry are dismissed with and constantly just kind of put aside with, and just in a very systemically sexist way in the healthcare community are denied treatment for. So for a year, she's misdiagnosed and mistreated, and it got really bad. And it's last year was properly diagnosed, but fighting it ever since. And again, fun criticism of the healthcare industry and it being a fucking scam. When she finally knew what it was and requested the the treatment for it, her healthcare provider told her no, because they don't cover Lyme disease treatment because it's not common in Southern California. So after asking insurance to do the one thing that it's supposed to do, after giving them tons of money, they said no. So what I'm getting at is that there is a GoFundMe that she has trying to raise the funds. I think the last time I checked, it's halfway there. I think it's only another 10,000. And she's went through hell and is just experiencing pain every day. Imagine having the worst flu of your life every single day. So that's kind of what she's been dealing with. I don't know where I can post that link. It's on my Instagram. If you just look up Ben Yura or the Jewish Jackhammer with JUISH Jackhammer. It's in my bio, but if you have the capabilities and you have the just the capabilities and the kindness and the time, I think it would mean a lot to her and vicariously mean a lot to me as her friend to donate what you can to that link. So yeah, again, I'm never gonna force anybody to donate money ever, but it would mean a lot to me, and I'm sure her if you could do something. So and if you do, I greatly appreciate it. If not, I totally understand. Money is very hard to come by these days. And the last thing I would say, if any to whoever's listening, I hope knowing me has made a positive impact on your life. If it hasn't, then I'm really sorry, and I hope that at some point maybe I can make it up to you. And yeah, I just hope that you have a good life and that the past 13 years have been kind to you. So
Damn.
Dude, that was good. That was deep. And we'll share the link when it comes time to post this on Instagram. We'll share the link on it.
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
But just like that is the really good episode of the Alumni Podcast. And we will catch you guys next time. Thank you, Ben Yura, for your time and for being on today. And T, anything?
Nah, let's leave it like that, man. That was a pretty good
All right.
episode. I love it.
Awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right,
Missed out.
guys. Peace.
Peace.
All right. Later.